Periods aren't limited to your flow. They involve four different phases that make up a cycle. Sometimes they last for about 26 days, sometimes 32, but on the average, 28 days. And during these phases, our hormones have a way of making us think, feel, like, react, and act in certain ways. You might even notice that you're sad during your period. All of these happen because of hormonal fluctuations, which affect our mental health, increase our anxiety. Periods come with physical and mental discomfort, which basically affects self esteem. Today, we will be talking periods and mental health. Welcome to my period stories. I'm Funke Treasure. You're watching My Period Stories. Our guest today is a mental health advocate, a media consultant, a trainer, producer, public speaker, and the author of the eye-opening book on mental health, which is titled Naked and Squared. I have the pleasure of welcoming to My Period Stories today, Gwendolyn Lady Gwen Oshoniyi. Gwen, you made it.
I did.
It's such a
I'm
pleasure
right
to
here.
have you here. Woohoo! I wish there was a crowd. We could like go, pop, pop,
Yes.
pop for you.
And I'm so excited, sincerely speaking.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. I love everything, your sets, everything about the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to have you here. So you've done a book on mental health, Naked and Squared, and I had the honor of reading it before you
Launched.
presented it to the public. And to be honest, I could relate with a lot of things that you wrote in there. But let me ask you first, why that book? Why that title, Naked and Squared?
Okay, so I wanted something that, brings me vulnerability, helps people to resonate with my story, my journey, and bring us all together in a space of sincerity and allness at the end of the day. So the nakedness is to show that this is me. There is no sort of facade, nothing, no curtains, nothing. It's just me. And you can also come the way I have come. So that's the nakedness. And then being squared is just giving it to you back to back and just say straight up, this is how life is, and not adding any color to it. So that was how we came about, that title.
Mental health has become quite an issue now. I think probably in the past, we all used to just pretend that we were good, we were okay, before the way we live our lifestyle and our different situations caught up with all of us. So now mental health is something everybody is talking about. And I know that with periods too, it's on a good day, periods for a lot of women is a mental health issue.
It is.
I'm sure that men cannot understand this because they're not in our shoes, And I want to read something that you, while we were talking, you talked about, and I'll just share that with everyone. You said, there was a period in my life about 2 years ago, I had anxiety and sorrow towards menses. I had to have a talk therapy to embrace it because for how many years person go take duam, right? And then you went on that, you're above 50 now, and it's just one of those painful blessings of a mature single girl. So let's speak to periods and mental health. Talk to me about your experience.
Sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional because
No, please don't.
when you've done your period for such a long time and you're not, it doesn't look like it's going away. It just feels like you're forgotten. You're less a woman. You're less what the society expects you to be. And because the period is meant for you to take you into a process that leads to conception. It's something every woman must do. So when you can't do it, when you're just having your menstrual cycle and year in, year out, you're not conceiving, and you've gotten to a stage where you should actually be calling it a wrap. That's with menopause. And you're still praying to God, Lord, let me see my period. It becomes a disaster. It leaves one with that mental pressure, emotional instability. And for me, it's at my age, over 50, I should be calling it a wrap. I have lots of friends who are even in their 40s, 45, 46, 3, 4 children, and they're already in their menopausal stage. But there I am, like as my period decreases, it gives me concern because I haven't have children, at this stage. And it's really emotional for me. Because what happens if you don't have children? What happens when you're 52 and you don't get to see your period?
Okay, Gwen, I'm just going to let us go on a break so I can see that you're quite emotional about it now. And I know that many women are on this table, as we say in Nigeria. So let's take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have more stability before we get into this. Stay with us. The WHO has said that Nigeria has the highest caseload of depression in the world. It's actually 15th in the world when it comes to suicide. It is alarming. Whether you believe it's true or not, mental health is affecting women in the area of periods, and even girls who go through it monthly. I'm going to pan back to you, Gwen. Again, I'm sorry I took you there, but this is one area that many women don't talk about, and we just have to talk about it. And what's the goal of this period podcast? Is to normalize period conversations in areas where there's been silence all this while. We want to talk about these things so that we women can be better understood, so that when we ask for menstrual leave, when we ask for access to to menstrual pads, and we ask for things that will make it easier for us to bleed in peace. Yes, in peace and in happiness,
Right.
men can better understand us. So, again, thank you for the courage to come and talk about your experience with periods and mental health. So let's rewind
Yes.
and be happy now, because really life is what it is. Sometimes it's
is.
not fair. Some people, I think when I look at teenagers, pregnant teenagers, I'm like, these girls don't understand what they have. You know that it comes to a point in life that you earnestly desire to be pregnant and you don't get it, and then you have to deal with periods every month, and it's not the best of things to experience. So let me come back to you.
Right.
When we were talking, you also talked about ovulation pain. And you talked about how sometimes you're dizzy, you're looking for where to sit before the period comes. There is Ohala. Afterwards, there is. I mean, walk us through an average experience. Yeah.
I actually find this conversation interesting because we don't talk about it enough. And, after you've gone through that painful stage of going through your period, like I said, as a mature woman, you also have an extended years of doing your period. And for me, ovulation takes place, afterwards quite painfully. I mean, you've gone through, let's say 2 days. I was just talking to one of your producers that when I am going to see my period, the blood flow comes, let's say on Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, I would have been going through pains, intensive, severe pains. And before now seeing the flow. And then after, seeing the flow, having to go through all of that painful period as well till it ends. Then 7 days later or thereabout, 14 days later, and then I'm feeling sick again. All the stomach ache, the cramp, and I have to revert back to my coping mechanism, the medication that I was using, while during the menstrual cycle. So it just, for me, it just seemed like you're in pain throughout the whole month. And when it's coming, you're feeling like, oh my goodness, like that unwanted visitor.
Right.
And that's the way it just feels to me. At a point, I had to see a therapist, to help me to embrace, that circle, all of the pain, and find a purpose, in all of it, make sense out of it. Because you're looking at yourself, why am I even doing this period in the first place? Why am I going through ovulation in the first place? What's the purpose? I'm not getting pregnant, am I? So why can't this thing just go? But like we said, it's the reality of life that sometimes you need to face and deal with it and become strong and just, accept it. That's until it goes, or if you're going to have other means of childbearing, and
Lady Gwen, sometimes I just wonder, is it not possible to just hire somebody, say, oh, please bleed for me this month? I'll take it again next month.
I wish.
But it's just not possible. We have to deal with it.
Yes.
That's how we've been crafted by our maker, so we have to deal with it. But you said something during your response, which I'd like to pick on, the use of a therapist. I didn't think a lot of people will favor that sort of solution to mental. I don't think people embrace seeing therapists. I mean, I've never seen one.
Yes. Well, you see,
does it work?
It does, because it helps you to give perspective. It gives you clarity in the midst of all of it. Because a lot of times when you don't have clarity, it all becomes cloudy and it becomes dark. and it leads to the part of depression. So if I can discover myself through therapy, because it then means that you have a knowledgeable person who understands the process. You know, they're not just there to give you solution, but they're there to lead you through the journey. So it's almost like your emotions, all of the pain, all of the irritability, for some people, the low self-esteem that comes from it, because it reduces your level of confidence. You don't want to go out when you're having your period. Even if there are meetings, like I don't go out when I'm doing my period because I'll be scared. Oh, I remember, let me take a detour. I remember that there was a time, I was in the studio and I was talking to this guy. And then there was this big pain that just came out of me. I knew I was in my period. I knew I was in my period. But this guy was saying something interesting and I was like, guy, I'm coming. He just said, no, let me quickly gist you. Everything was on the floor, sister. Oh, wow. And thank goodness, it was kind of mature, and then he cleaned up for me. I had to run to the ladies, clean myself up. I came back to the studio. And then, so those are sometimes, some of the things we go through. Employers don't want to listen to, oh, I'm sick today. Husband wouldn't want to listen to, oh, I'm sick today. That's why I want to stay in bed. So at the end of the day, it affects so many things about you. And therapy all bring the pieces all together. So I think, again, in our society, there are so many issues that we should look at, like they should be normal day things. Like when you have malaria, when you have headaches, stomach ache, and therapists, seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, it should be in our daily living, because you want to go into the next step of your life. You need someone to hold your hand. So it shouldn't really be a big deal.
I just know that it's pretty much not an African culture.
It's not.
It is not. But with the kind of lifestyles that we all live based on what we do, the kind of jobs we do, the kind of things we deal with, it's beginning to seep in the economic condition of the nation, of the continent, of the world, migrations here and there, and health conditions like this. For women, period conditions, added to it. I know that we have reasons to visit a therapist.
Yes.
We will take a break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at a video. You're watching My Period Stories with me. There's a video playing under the sound of my voice right now. Is that of a preacher man saying that you're not behaving badly because you're on your period. You're behaving badly because you're not a peaceable woman. And that speaks to the notion that some people have that, what's there? Is it not just to have periods? What's wrong with you? It's something you should just do. You're not the first to, have periods. Our mothers haven't been dramatic as you people are making it, look or seem. And I thought it was really unempathetic of him, for want of a word. Yes, for want of a better word to say. Let's take a listen.
When I'm having my menstrual flow, I just get angry, I get provoked. I can talk anyhow. You should know that the way I woke up this morning, that something is happening. So I'm not shut up. Deborah had menstrual flow in the Bible. It didn't begin with you. Esther had menstrual flow. And you are quiet. It looks like, Pastor, you are not understanding what we women go through. I said Esther had menstrual flow in the Bible, and she was married to a king. She honored him. Talk to me now. She honored him. I never saw anywhere in the Bible any woman complain that I'm hungry because I'm having menstrual. You are simply not a peaceful person. period. You like wahala. Just like trouble. Your mood is not you. You have the Holy Ghost to regulate. And I'm saying this. Listen.
Right. So we're talking about periods and mental health and how difficult some people think about our mental health as menstruators. So that's that preacher man there. Imagine all that he says, that you have to not be a peaceable person to be having issues with your mental health. Speak to us about that.
Yeah, I think, like in your intro, quite a lot of men can't really figure it out when you say you're in pain. And it's as probably it's worse, or it's as bad as when you have going to labor. And for every woman, there is a level of threshold for their pain.
That's right.
The degree at which you will cope is different from how I will handle it. And then I know some women who handle, or they don't go through pains at all. So again, maybe to create a balance for what the preacher was saying, that some other women who are in unhappy marriages have used menstrual cycle as a form of excuse, not to conjugate, not to meet with their husbands or with their spouses. But then that is not to say that when you're going through horrible menstrual cycle, it doesn't change your actions, your reactions. Sincerely speaking, it gives you a whole lot of swings. Like when I'm going through, I'm either feeling cold and then you cover me up. I'm feeling very hot and then I'm covered up. I'm feeling cold and I feel like throwing up, and you're asking me to go cook. That's not going to happen. So at the end of the day, I think we just need to probably do much more than we've been doing before. Educate the men, because they are our brothers. They are, they are in the workplace.
They're our zaddies, our daddies,
exactly,
our uncles,
our daddies. So at the end of the day, they're also the policymakers, and that's why they're not pushing the policies. Because I remember there was a time when one of my staff saw me rolling, on the floor in the office, and I said, "Oh, I'm going through menstrual pain." He was like panicking. And at that point, he was traumatized. So I think if men could actually put themselves, in our shoes, they would come close to feeling the way we are feeling, and they will be able to push certain policies and empathize.
Like menstrual leave. We're not asking for 30 days, but we're saying if there is a woman with a difficult period in the workplace where you are, as an HR manager, as a founder of an organization, that you empathize with that person. If that person has to go 2 days, off, so let there be a standard rule that if this happens, then let that person go off. There's remote work nowadays, so you really don't have to be.
But then again, how human beings
in the
are.
Office, right?
How we human beings are. Some other people might
will
want to
hide under it.
Yes, want to take advantage of that. But irrespective of that, empathy should not be removed from living. It shouldn't be removed from living. Rather, you should ask, how can I help you to cope? Should I boil some water for you to heat up, your abdomen? Should I get you some medication? What can I do to make you feel better? Not that, do you know all of those women, Sarah, Esther, they were not talking about the things.
I was shocked that man was talking about all the women. I went like, come on now.
And besides, back in those days, in the ancient, days of Esther and the likes of them, they were not allowed spiritually to come close to vessels of honor. They were not allowed into the temple. But now we can go to church to even, well,
there's some religious sects who
in
don't
some religious
allow.
sense, you can't even go to the prayer ground because you're on your period. Those are things that Esther didn't have to go through.
Well, we wouldn't know. We weren't there.
And because the accounts, read the man of God should read now and help us. In the account of Sarah, it was never talked about. About her. They talked about her menopausal stage, but they never talked about her going through the pain. But
right.
Here we are talking about it. If I don't come, you might just see me at work or maybe in the market, just squeezing face, or there was a day I was going on the streets. Like when I sent you that message, I was on the market and I was almost fainting. And even the women were like, Madam, what's the matter? What's the matter? I had to say, my period is coming. And they had to look for some things, paracetamol, and all of that. So they didn't have social media. They were not as bold as we are now. They were not speaking about some of those things, childbearing and all of those things. So if we are talking about it, I think the men, what they need to do for us is to be able to support us, embrace us, and help us to grow and, become better. Because imagine if you're going to sign that contract on the day you are having your period. What happens? You lose the contract?
That's right. What happens when you have something significant to do, and this sort of thing happens to you? I mean, if you're not a woman, you probably will not understand what we're talking about. Periods is no respecter of anybody. And I know that there's some women who don't even have to go through any pain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it comes and it goes. No drama, no pain, nothing. And maybe they too wouldn't understand what we're talking about. Thank you very much for coming on My Period Stories, Gwen. I really appreciate you. Mental health has always been downplayed in this part of the world, especially when we talk about periods. Don't stay silent. When you need help, you heard it, you can approach a therapist, because you find out that help will always be given only to those who ask for it. And that's it on My Period Stories today. Let's do this again next week. I'm Funke Treasure.